Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Mendez. Hope you guys are all having a good Sunday morning. On today's show, we will be looking back at a defeat yesterday, 3-0 loss up at Peterborough United that brings to an end our unbeaten run of 6 games. Joining me to look back at that one, first up top right, Sue Gallup. How you doing, Sue?
I'm all right. I finally dried out from yesterday. Got absolutely soaked.
Well, you should have. They did have roofs on the stand. Did you stand in the wrong bit somehow? Did
No.
you fall in the river?
Prior to the game, walking from the pub to the ground.
Nice. Yeah, there was that horrible downpour about an hour before kickoff that obviously you must have been caught in. Also, joining us on the bottom of the screen there, Joe Puddyfoot. How you doing, Joe?
Very good. I assumed at first when Sue said she thoroughly drived out, she'd come up with a new way of describing getting over too much booze the day before. But obviously not. Horrible day yesterday. But we move on.
Yeah, we move on. Well, we'll move on in an hour because we do have to talk about it, unfortunately. So on today's show, we'll hear the goals very shortly, just to hear the analysis, from Steve Brown. We're going to hear from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones. We're going to hear from Luke Berry as well, caught up with the Charlton midfielder after yesterday's game. I want to hear from you guys as well. Morning to everyone who's joined us live in the YouTube chat. Mickey says really disappointing result, harder to take because I think we've played worse than one. Got to bounce back so we don't get into a rut and choke. Come on, you Reds, all hell let loose is in there as well. Stephen's in there, Spam, Keith, Jeremy, Paul, Gary, Amani's in there, Dudley's, James, Alex is to blame. He says, I take the blame. I've never seen us win away, never even seen us score a goal away. So let's try and see if we can ban him from the show quickly. You stop going to games, please, Alex. Let us know your thoughts on yesterday's game. Where did it go wrong? I agree with what Mickey said. It was a weird game. It was a very weird game. But let us know your thoughts. Email us, studio@charltonlive.co.uk. You can tweet us at Charlton Live, or you can head over to our live YouTube chat and put a comment in there to have your say on today's show. Just before we hear the goal, Sue, it was a weird one. It was a really weird one because we lost 3-0, and I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, that's fair. And if we'd lost 5-0, I would have gone, yeah, that's probably also fair. But we also had a fair bit of control and a fair few chances at times in that game. Like, to the extent if we'd come back from 2-0 at half-time and got to 2-2, I would have got also fair. Like, anything could have been fair yesterday. It was a really, really strange game. It's going to be a tough one to analyse.
Yeah, it was bizarre. And I think even saying to my friends after, I was like, how are we going to unpick that in the morning? Because, and I agree, I can't remember who said it, we didn't even play that badly. I didn't think. It was just like, but we have like 25 shots on goal. Like that's still in the same sort of leagues that we've been hitting over the last sort of period that we've been doing well. Like, I don't know, what is it, 13, 14 games or whatever it is. But it was really bizarre. And I know we'll analyse the goals in more detail, but the first two were from exactly the same spot on the pitch, because where we sat, we was sort of pretty much in line with the guy that, like, different players, obviously, but it was from exactly the same places. And I felt like we looked a little bit leggy yesterday. We weren't, our press, like when Peterborough had the ball, we weren't going to them as quickly as like we normally would and attacking. So very, very strange. Very strange.
I mean, we'll analyse it a bit more when we've heard the goals, but there were so many similarities yesterday to the game away at Crawley, which is interesting because that one we won 1-0. And this one we've gone and lost 3-0. Could have been 5, could have been 2-2, could have been anything. But the space in the midfield and the way they exploited that at times was very, very interesting. Let's have a listen to the goal. We'll talk more about that game in a few moments' time. These were the highlights from Charlton TV. Brownie, of course, was alongside Terry and Greg.
The touch to Mothersville, and it hits Campbell. Ball scrapping around, still not cleared, and eventually cleared. Proper 6-yard box. Pinball as the ball comes out to Poku. Cuts inside. Left foot across towards the far post. Header from Hughes, and it's in. And Peterborough do score. Hughes, who stayed forward, ran off of Watson at the far post and gives Peterborough the lead.
Yeah. It's a very, very good run from Hughes off the shoulder, but it's caught Watson completely cold. He's not adjusted his shoulders, he's not seen him on the outside, he's got caught square. And that's how quickly you can make a mistake. It's quarter of a second.
Towards the far post, Steer came for it and didn't. He might have got a slight fingertip to it, took it away from Jones.
Hold on.
As Peterborough look to attack. Comes the way of Mothersville, and Charlton have got to get bodies back here as Mothersville out to the left-hand side as Ado in the penalty area, cuts inside Ado, looks to finish and does so. Peterborough have a second, and that pace on the counter-attack has paid off. Ado, the former Charlton Academy graduate, gets Peterborough's seconds before half-time.
And that puts us firmly on the back foot, doesn't it? And what I would say is we said moments ago, when Coventry is left defensively behind the ball, it's not a natural thing for him to get tight and show outside. It's not something that he's good at. You know, he's a central midfielder, he reads things in front of him, but when he's faced with 1v1, you can see he just doesn't really understand the angles of how to get somebody to drive on the outside. He's committed to running backwards into a position where you allow that inside channel to open up, and that's the last thing you can do. You've got to stop early and leave the space on the outside, and as the shot comes in, it comes in from an angle on the left foot, not a curled shot into the far corner on the right foot. But no criticism of Coventry, that is not his game.
Jones on plate forward through Campbell, a heavy touch has allowed Peterborough back in possession, and it's Hayes on the edge of the area, inside the area, ball across. This time it's finished by Mothersville, and Charlton are 3-0 down.
Yeah, it's been coming. We had a brilliant period from 45 to 60 and from 60 to 78. Let's be really honest, Peterborough could have extended their lead, and now they have. This is about damage limitations. Now at 2-0, you're thinking about if we're going to score the next goal 2-1, we're right back in it, and the pendulum swinging. At 3-0 down, it's I don't want to concede another one. That would be my thought process, sadly, at this stage as a centre-half. But it's a weird game because we've gone toe-to-toe, and pound for pound chances, we're up there. But the critical difference is they finished when they needed to, and we haven't managed to add that golden touch to our build-up play.
There we go. I think Brownie sums it up quite nicely there at the end. It was such a bizarre game, Joe. The similarity to the Crawley game I was talking about was the amount of time that when the ball broke down. Now Crawley did this, and they were able to get the ball out into the midfield and find someone in space. So it was Kamara who did it a lot for them and was able to run forward with the ball. And Posh had about 3 or 4 blokes who were able to do that. I mean, Jed Steer got roundly praised by Darren Ferguson after the game for his distribution from claiming crosses and stuff. And that's where we saw, I think, the second goal came from that. It was just a very open contest, the sort of which we don't play that often. We don't get involved with that often. We've had 3 of them recently. One at Crawley, one at Orient, and now yesterday at Peterborough. And I mean, we come unstuck yesterday. That's what's happened. They took their chances and we didn't. But they had the ability to create more chances than a lot of teams have had against us because it was so open yesterday.
Yeah, and actually the first the first game against Peterborough, I felt that was a very, very open game, and they could easily have taken the lead at the Valley. So I wasn't surprised to see that we were struggling to limit some of their threats and that they were getting in behind us and causing us problems. That if teams do that, that's great, and it will work. It will work from time to time, because you can't be faultless all of the time. But I felt that yesterday was a classic example where we really did need that international break, and we didn't get it. And if you're going to play at that type of intensity and you're going to play 3 games pretty quick succession, where it is pretty open, then eventually you're going to start to struggle. But hopefully teams haven't worked that out about us, because that would be a bit frustrating if there is a bit of kryptonite knocking about that's been discovered just before the end of the season. But if we'd have taken the 3 big chances that we did have before they scored, Doc at the far post, how on earth that didn't go in, I don't know. Jones obviously hitting the bar, and even Godden when TC played him through. I think that we would have had a very, very different game, because much like when Peterborough were at the Valley, if you get a first goal, or even against Crawley, you get the first goal, and you can then start to be a little bit less aggressive if you need to, and they have to really come out. They can't just sit in that low block, and you start to pick these teams apart. But as soon as we had that absolute disaster in our own penalty box, and they went 1-0 up, the game was perfectly suited to the way that they were set up, and we were always going to struggle to unpick that.
Yeah, I mean, let's unpick that disaster then, as Joe called it, because that's what it was. I mean, it was one of the more bizarre goals we've conceded for a while. But I mean, the build up to it, the way Kane sort of passed it back to Will Mannion, the way Will decided to pick it up, the way we thought we'd done the job with the defending on the line and then fell asleep from the cross. I mean, it was bad. I mean, let's focus first on the back pass. So Kane sort of controlled it, and it started rolling towards Will Mannion, at which point I've watched it back a few times. Whether it would have had the legs to have got there on its own, I'm not certain either way. Because Will at that point has seen it. He's just about started to go down, thinking, right, I can pick this up, because the first touch was, you could argue, was a block of a cross, probably wouldn't be given as a back pass. But then Kane has made the somewhat bizarre decision, to then just pass it really hard at Will, who's already sort of on the way down, but still, I think, probably could have done more to have not picked the ball up. You must have been able to get a leg on it or something. So it's probably both players at fault there. It was just miscommunication. So which way did you see it?
It was so weird. And when was the last time anyone conceded a back pass like in that respect? Like, I was like, can't even remember the last time anything like that happened, not just to us, to anybody. But yeah, when it happened, I think everyone was just stunned into silence. It was like, what just happened? And I think I agree with you 100%. Both of their responsibilities, the communication just wasn't there. I think in those situations, I think the keeper should always be the one that's vocalising, right, leave it, I'll have it, like, I'll take it. Whether he did or not, and Kane didn't hear or listen, but it was so bizarre. But it's one of those situations that you're watching almost in slow motion. It was just strange, really, really strange. I don't even know how much more I can unpick that, because it was just so bizarre. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, it really was weird. And then the defending for the goal itself. So we did the job on the line. We did what you have to do. You get bodies in the way. You just hope it falls for you, and you do. But then we fell asleep 15 seconds later, and that was so frustrating. It was a good cross from Poku, a good run from Hughes, who just stepped beyond Tane Watson, but Tane didn't seem to see him behind him, and as a defender on the far side, you've got to try and avoid someone getting in behind you like that, and we fell asleep, unfortunately, Joe.
Yeah, and that's why when we lost Edwards, I was very, very surprised to see Watson come in. I do think that, okay, he played well last week, and and all credit to him for that. But he is so susceptible to falling asleep at the back post or letting his man go. And if you'd have had Mitchell in there, then you can push Ramsey on the right, because he does get forward and he does attack. And I think that Ramsey will be much better as an attacking outlet than Watson, and Mitchell will be better defensively than having Watson there as well, because you'd be able to shift Ramsey out. But you've got to mark your men, you've got to pick your men up, and you've got to be aware. And there was actually 2 men free at the back post, and not a single concern or flag was raised to say that we're in trouble here. And if you see Jones's reaction, he's apoplectic at the fact that there's just a man, 3 yards out just to nod it in, because that should never be happening. And those are the kinds of mistakes that we haven't been making for so long. But you lose someone like Edwards and you've got to rejig the whole defence. And unfortunately, the people waiting in the wings just aren't at the same calibre in terms of their defensive know-how and ability as the ones we have. And we know that because they were part of a defensive struggle last season.
Yeah, Dudley says, I think Big Willie should have just lumped it away. I don't blame Ramo or Ramsey and Tano Watson. Didn't defend the cross. He let his man go. He looked at him and he left him. So yeah, that was an error. The second goal. So the second goal came from something that Posh threatened to do all game, which was that we were on the attack. I think we got the ball into the area. Steer did what Jed Steer was doing all day yesterday. Had a good game. The Posh keeper, former Charlton man, and bowled it out. And they got moving quickly. Got it over to Abraham Oddo, who I thought, considering he was on our books as a youngster, we never really saw anything of him. I just assumed he was going to go off and have one of those little sporadic League Two careers, but it sounds like he's been doing really well the last couple of months for Posh, and I thought he was very good yesterday. As we heard from Brownie there, Connor maybe could show him outside a little bit better, but though, as Brownie says, it's not really one-on-one defending to stop a shot isn't exactly his game, but a good finish. But yeah, that exact move happened about 5-6 times in that game, Sue, and there was always a threat that they were going to score from a counter like that, where we had men up the pitch. They could get one ball through almost our entire midfield because they left someone a bit deeper, and then we were wanting there at that point and had a lot to do, and we were unable to stop it.
Yeah, like you say, like that happening, that sort of 5 or 6 occasions. I think they obviously worked us out quite quickly in where their threat was going to be more effective, and that second goal. I mean, he did give it to us after, and he would, because obviously we let him go. Some of our fans were giving him a bit of stick over it. But, I mean, yeah, it's, again, you'd think after the first one that they would be like, right, we need to make sure we tighten up in those areas. And we just didn't. And he just came through so easily. And it's really disappointing to see that, because of how effective our defence has been for such a long time, majority of the season, really, in fairness. I mean, there was a bit of talk about, and Lloydie's got nothing to do with that goal in that respect, but he didn't seem himself yesterday. And I think if Lloydie's not at his 100% for whatever reason, I think he got a knock in the first sort of 10 minutes, and it seemed to sort of affect the rest of his game. But you can afford a player to have a bad game. It just seemed like all of them just weren't as on it as they normally are. Like I say, like just pushing anytime anyone's got the ball. We just wasn't attacking in the way that we normally do as a team.
Yeah, I mean, finishing yesterday was poor. Because we came like we had a good start to the game. I think we had those couple of chances, didn't we? We had Godden was just wide. Jones hitting the crossbar. Godden had a volley block. Doherty had that one at the far post from the corner. Tyrese Campbell had a shot at Steer. Even in between the 2 goals in the first half as well, Steer made a decent enough save from Thierry Small. Like these were all chances, and then we came out with a bit of renewed vigour at the start of the second half. This is why it's such a weird game to analyse, because we get a goal in that game and things could change very quickly. Posh don't keep many clean sheets. I think that was only their 4th clean sheet yesterday. But yeah, after we had maybe a good 5-10 minutes at the start of the second half, Peterborough could have comfortably been 5-0 up soon after that, because they had 3 or 4 really good chances, and the third goal comes and goes. It's game over at that point, Joe. But it was just such a bizarre one. When we were on top, we didn't make the most of it, and then when they were on top, you could argue they didn't even make the most of it, and they scored 3 goals.
Yeah, well, I mean, I put in the group yesterday, with sort of 50 minutes gone, that I felt that if we could nick one in the next 10 minutes, we could even go on and win the game, because we were looking comfortable at that point. We were looking like we were creating opportunities, and I just felt that if, they are so defensively frail, that if we could nick one, it would be panic stations for them, having been 2-0 up, and we're not going to throw this away, are we? And you'd go on and rally, but unfortunately, it just wasn't to be the case. And we had 17 shots in the area. They've had 16 shots in total, 17 shots in the area. You shouldn't be coming out of games like that without netting anything. And it's just one of those games. And but even if you're absolutely storming it at the top of the league, like Birmingham are this season, they came to us and they were thoroughly unpicked by us, and 2-0, and they played pretty badly on the day. We made them look very, very average. So even if you're running away with it, you're going to have the odd game where it doesn't quite fall your way and it doesn't work out for you. And I think the reason that this defeat feels so galling is A, scoreline, which is we're not used to conceding 3, let alone losing by 3 this season, and B, we knew that to have our dalliance with miss automatics instead of miss playoffs, we would have to go pretty flawlessly to the end of the season. And the games we were expecting to trip up would have been Huddersfield, potentially Wrexham and Wycombe. And then Wrexham having their toughest game, means that now they're sort of one of their tougher games out the way yesterday, and winning it sort of stretches that a little bit further. So no, I'm not going to get too down about it. And I think it's very fair what you've said. I think if we'd have won the game, if we'd scored before 60 and gone and won the game, I don't think there would have been too many complaints that actually we got away with a couple of silly errors in the first half. But unfortunately, that wasn't to be the case.
I mean, we can analyse what it means for us overall. So we've picked apart the goals, picked apart some of the chances. I still want to talk about some of the players. I mean, Chris has just put a good point about TC in there that I think we should talk about. But I came away because I came away a bit flat yesterday, because everything went wrong that could go wrong. Obviously, Wrexham winning, and as Isaac's saying, with a soft penalty, to put it nicely. We obviously got beat. That 5-point gap becomes an 8-point gap. Goes from being something that was difficult but felt achievable because of the way we were playing and the points we're picking up, to in one afternoon it's become an 8-point gap. And so I guess the argument is, if it was achievable at 5, and therefore we thought between now and the end of the season it will to and fro a little bit, we probably weren't going to win every game, so we're going to lose one. But now we're asking Wrexham to lose probably 3 games, including against us. It's a tough ask, but you got to contextualize it in that it's our 3rd defeat in 21 games now, something like that. It's frustrating. We're still in a healthy position for not just playoffs but for top 4, which I think now, if top 2 is probably looking a bit of a stretch, then top 4 should be our aim between now and the end of the season. Get that home leg in the second tie in the playoffs. That we were never going to go all season without losing a game. So we just have to react the same way we reacted to Birmingham. After the Birmingham game, out of our next 6, we won 5 and we drew the other one. When we lost to Rotherham, the next 6, we won 5 and we drew the other one. That's what we just got to think about. We have to draw a line under it. It's a bad day at the office, but we have to make sure we recover, and that's what we've done consistently in this second half of the season.
Yeah, and I've sort of tweeted out, like, I'm disappointed, but I'm not angry. I'm not like overthinking it. Like, we were gonna have a loss. I mean, as much as we like to believe we were going to win for every game for the rest of the season, realistically, you are going to have a loss, and the other teams above and around us are going to have losses. We keep saying the same thing. We can't worry about what everyone else is doing. We've got to focus on ourselves. And I think what you've just said, like, is so powerful in the respect of those other 2 losses. The response after those games were just unbelievable. Like, you couldn't have asked for more, really. And I think I said to my friend yesterday, when during the game, like, when they went 3 up, I was like, maybe this was just another bit of a kick up the arse we needed. Maybe we'd started to not get complacent because we were going for it. But sometimes you just need a little reminder that just keep fighting. Like, anyone is capable of beating anyone in this league, as we're seeing, apart from Birmingham, obviously. So we just got to keep that belief, use that emotion from yesterday to push us on for the rest of the season, and really get to the highest point we can. Like, if it's second, like you're saying, it's probably quite unrealistic now, but you don't give up that dream because you never know what the other teams are going to do. You just got to go for it, see what happens. We're in a better position than we thought we were going to be before Christmas. And I think that's what we really need to hold on to. Like, we've been playing so well. And it was just a little blip. That's all it was. It was a blip.
Said to Phil on Radio London yesterday after the game, like, it's nice to come away from our traditional annual defeat at Peterborough and it actually means something, rather than, oh no, we might finish 14th instead of 15th now, or something like it's something that happens to us every season for some reason when we go there, and it always has. But we're part of a different season now. You know, as Paul says, it's another Rotherham-like wake-up call. Hopefully that's our Rickett quota done for the season. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, Ben says a lack of quality finishing, and if Godden isn't on form, the likes of a Hadman and Nike can't replicate it. We've sorted out our defensive solidity this season onto our attacking quality in the summer. And a lot of people want to talk about Chuks. Came on sort of about 10 minutes into the second half. It was quite early. Game state sort of dictated that we wanted to throw that dice a little bit earlier than perhaps than we normally would. After that performance, Alex has said, Anike should never play in a Charlton shirt again. He can't even run. Give him 10 minutes in the final game as a thanks, but never again. Keith says all Chuck's done when he came on was foul players. Jamie says, unfortunately, Chuck's is probably done now. He's been great in previous seasons, but injuries have massively taken their toll. He can't run, and he ends up bundling players over. All hell let loose, and he's 100% certain he'll go in the summer. He says, why wasn't Kanu on the bench? Kanu is injured at the moment, rolled his ankle, I think playing for the 21s during the week, so he's going to be out for however long that takes. But yeah, what do we make of Chuks yesterday, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, it used to be that we would say if we can keep Chuks fit, then you're in with half a shot of having a decent season, even if the rest of the team's crap, because he would just drag us through games. But that Chuks magic this season has just long gone. He isn't the nuisance that he used to be. He isn't the sort of the rabbit out the hat that you need. And it's a shame, really, to see, you know, a footballer at his age, you know, really coming towards what I think is the end of his career. But I'm not even sure that you're getting value on a play as you play deal. Whereas previously I would have always had a bit of a shout for him, you know, being on that type of contract. So we've just got to really look at finding different solutions. I do think that across the squad up top, you know, we've got Godden who's there for finishing. He's the only one really that I would put up there as absolute clinical finisher. You've got Lieburn, who's a bit of a unit with some feet, and TC who can beat a player. And outside of those three, even though we've got a lot of strikers, I'm not sure there's a lot of strength in depth there. And yeah, it's a shame. Chuks has provided us a lot of magic moments over the years, and absolutely will always be a bit of a Charlton legend for me, even if we did have to buy him back from Birmingham. But it's just sort of come into its natural point now, and I'd be expecting him in the summer to struggle to get another League One club. He probably would be looking at pay-as-you-play League Two or something like that, because the physicality is just gone.
Yeah, it was a tough watch yesterday. I asked Nathan Jones for his thoughts on the performance from Chuks when he came on, which we'll hear later on in the show. I mean, the comments of Dutchy saying one league goal each this season for a Hadme, Anike, Kanu and Hilton is a worrying stat. I'd say for Hilton, actually, there's a bit of a bonus, to be fair, because he's not expected to play much. So if someone asked me at the start of the season, I would have suggested he weren't going to score at all this season. But he's done more than I was expecting. But he's not an option for the problem we have. You know, if you put it that way. I think the other thing I want to talk about was Tyrese Campbell yesterday. So Chris raised the point in the chat. He says he's played 37 League One games and contributed 3 goals and 1 assist, yet he hooked Godden off. So the Tyrese one is an interesting one because, I mean, obviously, Tyrese and Godden are very different types of players, and Tyrese can do stuff that Godden can't do in terms of getting us up the pitch and creating stuff. But I don't think it's unfair to say that in terms of full-blown goals and assists, we'd want a bit more from him. But at the same time, in our squad, I don't think there's many people you take out, many people you put in instead of him to do the role that Tyrese Campbell does for us in terms of trying to get us up the pitch. Now, there was a good point, again, I can't see it in the chat, about the way Odo actually took his chance yesterday. That's what you want to see more of from Paul, from Tyrese. So Paul says, TC is a conversation to be had. I've not really seen much from him that others have. Gets us up the pitch, but Odo hit a strike on 2 touches. It often takes TC 5 or 6 to get off. So, and they're both sort of young players, but that Odo goal yesterday was the sort of thing we want to see. We want to see TC do more. And we know Nathan wants that as well. He sort of said that after he scored that great goal a few weeks ago at the Valley. So TC has had an improving season. I'd say I'd go as far as saying a good season, because he's got us in positions where without him we wouldn't be an attacking force that we are, and we're not a great attacking force, but we're not a bad one nowadays, although we were yesterday. But I think final product will still be something that we'll need to grow a little bit. So I think that's fair. I think that's the point that Chris was making as well. We need numbers. We can't just rely on Matty Godden and Miles Leaburn, who's out injured now.
Yeah, I think the point about TC is, like, I can see what people are saying, but at the same time, he gives us so much more, like, in his attacking play, and he's so fast with the ball at his feet, and he's actually really strong now as well. Like, I was one of the ones last season saying, loan him out. Like, I was, with what we saw from him last season, I was like, loan him out to a League 2 club, National League side, get him to get like a bit more like beefed up and stuff. But he's proved me wrong this season, and I think he's in a period. He's a young man. He's still growing and learning in the game, and he's going to learn off of players like Matty Godden and Danny Hilton and people like that. That's just going to improve him week on week. And I think, if I'm honest, again with Odo yesterday, I think they've said that was his first goal of the season. Yeah, he is an attacking player. He's fast, he's rapid, he's strong, but he had something to prove yesterday, and maybe that's why we saw what we saw from him yesterday. So I don't think you could judge Odo on yesterday's game against TC's sort of couple of seasons. I think that's a little bit unfair on TC.
Yeah, I mean, the point I was just going to bring up as well then. So Ashley, who was from Up the Posh cast, who came on our show on Thursday, I very, very briefly was able to say hello to him in the ground yesterday, but we were messaging after. And I said, I was impressed by Odo. I didn't know what to expect because we released him. And he said, if you'd asked my opinion on him a couple of months ago, I would have told you it was a waste of money and he would be on loan in the National League next season. So, wingers are notoriously hit and miss. TC's not a winger now, although he's a winger playing up front. That sort of thing brings that to his game. But yeah, yesterday you're seeing something from a winger or a wide player that you want to see consistently from our own one, but he himself hasn't done it consistently. It's a difficult position, but yeah, that's where we find ourselves. Right, I think there's still more to talk about, but let's hear from Nathan Jones, shall we? The Addicts boss spoke to myself and Rich after yesterday's game. These are his thoughts on the 3-0 defeat up at Peterborough. Nathan, not to be today. How did you see it?
Look, as I said, we've given these a lot of credit in terms of the front four they have, because they have front four that can hurt you. But we've had 25 shots today, and the amount of crosses, the amount of territory, the amount of set plays we've had, and we haven't been able to score, and that shows us the lack of quality from us. When we were on top, we didn't score. Gifted those the first goal, and then look, they are a real threat in transition, and we didn't defend that well enough. But it was a two open game for us, because that's how they want to play. And when we had our opportunities, we didn't punish them. So we didn't really keep those true, really, and honest in terms of how they do it. We played Crawley the other day, who leave people out of the thing, give up big chances and hope to catch you on the counter. These are similar in terms of that, and they were better than us today at being more clinical.
So the amount of sort of territory your side had, it just couldn't quite make it click in the right places today.
Well, we didn't show enough quality. I mean, first off, we had it. We've had loads of opportunities, and in terms of without really getting outcomes and making the keeper safe. We're getting behind them. And we had enough opportunities to have made more of a mark on the game, but we looked open. Defensively, we turned the ball over, and then we looked openly. And as I said, they're very, very good because they're as good a front four in the league. How they're in the position they are means they're probably not like that week in, week out, but they're really, they're well coached side. They've got real threats. But today we just didn't show enough quality to punish them, and then when they had the opportunities, they did.
Just frustration with the way the first goal came around in particular. Did you make the decision from the goalkeeper and the referee there?
Well, it's a back pass. This is a back pass. Referees had the correct decision. I mean, we just got to clear that. Just clear it and defend your box, and it's no problem. And then, from the corner, they leave 3 up. We weren't aggressive on the first ball, and then they get in, and look at stuff we work on, And when you go sleep against these, they can carve you open because they've got real good players. They've got very, very good front four. But we didn't handle that, and then we didn't show enough quality in the final third. It's just all about us, really, in terms of what we do. I can look at those and give those credit for how their attacking players played. But for us, in terms of an attacking threat today, we needed to be better.
Said this after the Rotherham game. It's how you react now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have it because we ask them to be brave, we ask them to be bold, we go after teams and stuff, and sometimes you get punched on the nose. It's just how we react, and we've reacted very, very well. And we've got 8 games to go where it's going to be, a real tight running.
Yeah. No Miles Leeburn today. What can you tell us about that?
Picked up an injury in training on Tuesday. Very innocuous, so we have to see where it is.
And Chukwuemeka came on quite early, obviously, given the game stage. What did you make of him today?
We didn't give him anything really to get hold of, and Chucks is trying to gather momentum as well. He has a bitty season because of the minutes he does, and when he picks up little injuries, so he's got to gather rhythm and so on. To be fair, so we can criticise a load of, or not criticise, but we can evaluate so much. But today, look, we gave up too many big chances because we normally don't do that, and when you have 25 shots and only 4 on target, that's not a good return. So we look at us, we'll look to put that right, and as I said, another big game next week.
Did I hear you say on the Charlton TV interview that Miles is set to see a specialist, Nathan, or not? Or...
Yeah, he will see us. Obviously, any injuries that people pick up. We have a scan, and then we'll see a specialist to see how we move forward with those things, and that's what's happening with Miles.
With the game, when you said it suited them, it being so open, how do you kind of prevent that from happening when they have got good players that can hurt you?
Well, we did. We changed shapes for the second half to give them a 4. I mean, to be fair, first off, we handled it really well right up until what it was, 35-36 minutes, and we were pretty dominant, and they had sporadic moments, which you're going to have with the players they got, but we had all the territory, we had the dominance, and we didn't score, we didn't create enough clear-cut things to have taken the lead. Or when we did create those opportunities, we had a block, or we blazed shots, or we had the keeper, or whatever it was, we didn't show that clinical edge. So then second half we come out and we want to be aggressive again, and we have 3 shots in the first 5 minutes, but they all, I'm not sure if they found the ball, so that's the difference. If you want to come out, but we didn't. We were lashing at stuff, we didn't show that enough quality then, and that's what we needed to do. And then they showed bits of quality when they got in the final third. They carved out more clear-cut stuff than we did, and that's why they won the game.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the river. See you soon.
Right, welcome back to Charlton Live on your Sunday morning. Just before the adverts there, we heard From the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones, summing up yesterday's performance. So, I mean, he highlighted where it went wrong. He highlighted the mistakes we made defensively, but he also tried to put it in the context of the season. You know, this can happen. We're not going to win every game. And it is very much now about the reaction. They'll look at what went wrong yesterday. And this could be a big week for them just to make sure they go into Huddersfield next week, looking to right those wrongs.
Yeah, I think if I'm honest, I don't think they're obviously, yeah, they'll look at the mistakes, but I don't think they're going to read too much into that result yesterday, because of how well we've been doing. And I think he needs to keep the squad in like a positive mindset rather than bringing them down about mistakes that were made. Like, that players will make mistakes. It's just how the game goes. But it's just how then you come back from those. And I think he'll go into the week really trying to sort of boost the lads' confidence back up and encourage and remind them of what they're able to do prior to yesterday. So I feel like this week's training will probably be quite positive, because it will be about what we've done really well, as opposed to what we did badly yesterday, and just tighten up on those mistakes that were made.
Nathan spoke about Miles Lieburn there, so it's a quad injury. We're at that stage where we don't know how long it's going to be, but I mean, I imagine a quad's probably not one game off, Joe. Like, one of my big concerns over the last few months of, you know, where we've been going through this good form is that once the injuries start to take hold again, then that can be problematic. So, you know, we've lost. We're going to lose Lieburn. We're going to lose Carnu. We've lost Edwards for a few games. Hopefully, he'll be back sooner rather than later. But you know, when we were struggling in the early part of the season, there were many facets to why that was happening. But one of them would have been injuries, and we have to hope that this doesn't affect us as much as I think it might do, because Lieburn coming off the bench, when we need Lieburn coming off the bench, is a big boost for us. And if he's not going to be there, then that could be problematic.
Yeah. I said when we still weren't in the playoffs, when we were sort of just outside after Christmas, that I felt that we would probably not make the playoffs because of how fragile the squad was. And obviously we've managed to keep players for as long as we have, and we've had a tremendous run of form, and I've been proved absolutely wrong. I did say if we made the playoffs that I would back us to actually go up in the playoffs, because I thought that the types of teams that would be in there would be ones that would suit us to play. But you are starting to see now the cracks appearing in having a squad as light as Nathan Jones is saying that he wanted to have, because you've only got, you know, very, very limited options to bring it in and off the bench. And the first team is good. The squad is okay. So without the likes of Lieburn, it does really limit what you can do up front, especially as, you know, you're going to be chucking on the walking wounded in an EK. And, you know, you could argue that maybe an injured Lieburn might be better to play than an unfit EK in terms of what you're going to get out. And you've got, at the back, you know, without Edwards there, you just don't have the same opportunities to shuffle the deck if you're chasing the game with that you have. So it's going to be a long sort of 8 games. Hopefully the first 11 can do it time after time after time after time, and mean that we're not going to be relying too much on those game changers, as they're called. But you do look behind you at the bench if you're Nathan Jones and think, how many game changers versus how many sort of just put another body on options do I have? And unfortunately, you know, game changers are looking a little bit lacking at the minute.
Just a couple of tweets that came in, and Carl said too many individual mistakes, sloppy in possession. They played with lots of pace, and Odo obviously felt he had a point to prove. Mannion's lack of concentration changed the game. Felt we were controlling it whilst dealing well with the breakaways. We need to bounce back. Anthony said, thought Chuck's used to be unplayable when he came on. Now he seems unable to play. A bit more conversation on TC as well in the chat. I mean, this is I think LW has made a point that I think is correct. I think this is what I was trying to say. So yesterday TC got us into ridiculously good positions, but I lost count of the amount of times he failed to beat his man and go into the area. It's not a surprise to me that Nathan kept him on, as he was a threat all game, and that's why he offers us something different that something that no one other than Thierry Small on his day can do, which is actually run with the ball and be a bit tricky and get us into areas. It's just about going to that next level. Redmond says from a tactical point of view, he fits the way we play perfectly. He just needs to add those goals and assists. A very good year of progression for him. And I think that's right. I think that's fair. And Andrew asked the question, can you teach that composure to a striker? So from TC as a striker now, that's his role. He is a hybrid striker. He's a winger playing as a striker in that he brings something that a lot of strikers don't bring with in terms of running with the ball. But that composure, I mean, I think you must be able to teach it. I mean, a lot of finishers are natural finishers, I guess, but we wouldn't have managers and coaches if you can't drill that into players over the course of a career. And TC is still, was he 2021? He's still a young man because he's been around for a while. We have this problem with a lot of our players because they've been playing since they were 18. You think he's a seasoned professional? He's not. He's basically a boy. And there's still levels in his game that will improve. Surely, Sue.
Yeah, and I think, and again, referring to someone in the chat that had said about why did we re-sign Danny Hilton, I think it's people like him that is exactly what players like TC need. Danny Hilton is a seasoned pro, and he will be able to teach TC, and as well as like Matty Godden, they'll be able to teach TC how you do just take that split second to just compose yourself before you get a shot away, or like, I think, yeah, definitely you can learn it. And we've seen that in older players having that ability to have that composure. I think TC's like, when he's sprinting and he's running with a ball at his feet, he just gets very, very excited and sometimes doesn't just take that second to think and look. And yeah, the older lads in the team, like, especially, I think especially Danny, will be the people that help him to then like learn those sort of finer points to his game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Paul says, I have no doubt that TC will figure it out. He's improved season over season. I'm probably just being harsh on him, but trying to be constructive. CBT was the same. Just needs to find that goal assist pedigree. And no, I think you're perfectly right and perfectly fair, Paul. You know, the constructive criticism is fine. That's the way I like. We like to talk about the players who do like. There's room for improvement with players, and that's a fact. If they aren't quite doing something, then it won't just be us having these conversations as supporters. Like, Nathan will see what needs to change and what needs to improve, but also we'll be able to take account of the fact that there's a player who's done a lot for us this season in there, and I think has improved year on year, as said. I mean, so Trim said we'd rather take Odo over Tyrese Campbell any day. That's because we've watched Odo once. Like, we've watched Tyrese Campbell all season, and we've watched. I always say, like, the creative wingers who have to run and have to take risks are always more likely to fail as well. So you're going to see a winger. You can see a midfielder play a 5-yard pass inside 100% of the time, but a winger who has to try and do something and trick someone and take it past them, there's much more room for error there, and that's why we as fans can find players like that frustrating. But that's why we can't say Odo had a good game yesterday, let's sign him immediately. That's one game. That's probably been why our recruitment over the years has been so bad, because we just sign people who play well against us. That's how we ended up with Scott Fraser, and that ended up a mistake. Alex says Odo has been woeful for Posh this season. He just played well against his former club. As Dean said, look, we've lost one game. Yeah, that's where we are. Let's not get carried away. Couple of emails came in as well. Connor says, "Hi guys, just got in after a lengthy day coming from the south coast for yesterday's game. Not what we hoped for. I didn't think we were the best version of ourselves today, and we allowed Posh to play to their strengths. I actually thought we were in control up until the back pass madness. That being said, if we are saying that is a poor performance with that many shots and chances being created, then we've come a long way. I've seen us away from home have games where we've had one, maybe two shots if we're lucky. I went to, going back to Premier League days, I saw us lose 2-0 at Liverpool once, and we didn't have a shot. Full stop. We didn't have a shot on target or off target. We at one point, I think it was Yuli, hooked the ball over his head towards the penalty area, and I tried to claim that was a shot, but it wasn't. So yeah, he says that I think it's a grounding leveler for us, but top two is out of the question. Is top two out of the question? No, it's not. It gives us a lot to do, but considering how good we have been, barring today and Rotherham, we are still in it. It just didn't happen for us today, but we have to have that buffer to sixth, so it's not all negative. 8 games to go. We know this will be a roller coaster. Also, has anyone seen the Wrexham penalty they got? We are due a bit of luck. that Wrexham seem to get week in, week out. And like I say, look, 8 points feels a lot bigger than 5. And when it was 5, I thought, there's a chance there. 8 feels a lot worse. But if there was a chance at 5, we had to have factored in at some point we'll probably lose a game in that run. At some point, Wrexham will probably win a game in that run. So it's still, it's a very outside chance, but stranger things have happened, I guess. McSquared, with reference to yesterday's downpour, have you guys never heard the saying, never cast a clout? There's no such thing as bad weather, only bad preparation, Sue. Well, I did wear a raincoat, Sue, yesterday. You should have taken heed of McSquared's advice there. He also adds, I'm sure everyone will agree it's simply a bad day at the office. Once again, history repeated itself in terms of our woeful record at the Posh. They were better in every department except in terms of possession, which actually played into their hands. Our defending was substandard. Our final balls were poor. Our shooting was terrible. Posh missed chances, but they still managed to put 3 away. Our subs failed to bear any fruit. Miles was sorely missed. Says, based on recent evidence, it's finally time for Chucks as well. He is failing to have any positive impact. Furthermore, TC had a poor game yesterday, particularly in terms of decision-making. It was inevitable that the run would come to an end sooner rather than later. Now it's crucial to bounce back against Huddersfield. Second place was always pretty much a pipe dream anyway. We just need to concentrate on consolidating our hard-earned playoff position. Lovely stuff. Right, let's have another listen to an interview. Luke Berry, the Addicks midfielder, caught up with him for a quick chat after yesterday's game.
It was a defeat here at Peterborough. How did you see the game today?
Yeah, it was, their front 3, front 4 were real good. They caused us a lot of problems on the counter-attack, and we couldn't deal with that at times. We had enough chances, opportunities to make a real game of it, and I thought we played okay at times. It's just they were clinical and we weren't.
Yeah, because so there was a lot of sort of possession in and around the penalty area. Just didn't quite click today. Is that how it felt out there?
Yeah, it did click. We got shots off. We just that bit of quality end product was lacking. Maybe the little runs to get into the right positions, shots, keeping them down, keeping them on target, working the keeper a bit more. That was probably the difference today. They finished their chances, we didn't.
So 2 goals just before half time can be difficult to come back from. And the first one was a really unusual goal as well. It's such a shame that they'd done all the hard work to deny the indirect one, and then it just felt like the header came in at the far post. Yeah,
we defended that real well. It's just second phase, we flicked it in back post, and a free header. We just, it sort of nullified a bit of all the good work we were doing, because we were on top, we were creating things. I think we hit the crossbar, Matty nearly got in from a corner. Like we were causing a lot of problems, and then they go and score down the other end.
There's some similarities to the Crawley game, as when moves break down, they seem to have people quite high up the pitch in the midfield to try and put you on. It's quite difficult to play against that sort of midfield set-up.
Yeah, it can be a bit cat and mousey, where I feel like we need to push forward, and then if they break on us, it can be 3-on-3 or 4v3 where in their favour, and it can be a problem at times. And that'll be something we'll probably look at next week to nullify and not let that happen again.
From yourself, we saw quite a few times where you're making that dart beyond the strikers, and that's obviously what you love to do, and a couple of times it sort of came off today as well.
Yeah, it was one I headed for Matt in, he got a good block. When I tried to dink him, it didn't quite come off, but as long as we keep on trying the right things, I'm sure we'll get enough points to hopefully see us in the playoffs. And if we can go on the run that we've been on before after Rotherham, maybe even push an automatic spot.
I was going to say, because that's been the talk over the last few weeks, was within 5, it goes back up to 8 now, but there's still 8 games left to go. Things can change quickly, can't they?
Yeah, things can change. We've still got to play them, still got to play both the boys above us, and you never know. We just need to learn from what's happened, and not let it happen again, and really kick on, because we're in good form. We've been playing well. Yeah. It's just one of them days where they finished their chance and we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at it's 3 defeats in 21 now. It was 2 in 20. If you look back at Birmingham, you look back at Rotherham, it was the reaction after that was more important, and that's what you got to go and do again now.
Yeah. We need to just learn from that. Monday we'll be in debriefing everything and what we do after every single game, and hopefully we can really put it right at home at the Valley. And then just go on a good run again. Yeah,
because I guess a side like Huddersfield coming to SC7 next week, and that's the sort of game you want, another big game.
Yeah. We can't take the confidence we're playing with, because we played real well at times. It's just moments where we need to really be switched on for their threats, and I'm sure Huddersfield will have them threats as well, where we need to be switched on and learn from what's happened today.
There you go, Luke Berry, an experienced head in the dressing room, Sue, and I thought he actually spoke like an experienced head yesterday. You imagine if maybe if a young player comes out after yesterday's game, they'll be really down in the dumps. Someone who hasn't been through it consistently for 10 years. But Luke will have had seasons, would have had good promotion seasons where they've lost games, and you know how you have to react to that. And he was quite measured with his analysis of what went wrong yesterday and where it can improve.
I love Luke. I think he's been discussed quite a lot over the season because he is one of the older players, the more experienced players, which is, I think you do need that mix. You do need those sorts of players in the dressing room, not just on the pitch. And I think, hopefully people like him having conversations with the lads like, look, let's not get too down about it. We move on, draw a line under it. We lost. We've come back from losses before. So I think, he's definitely someone that I would want to see stay with us a bit longer term, because not just what he brings on the pitch, but off it as well. And like you say, like, he's so measured and don't get too dramatic or emotional about a loss. It's just like, it happens. Let's move on. So I think, you definitely need those sorts of characters in the dressing room.
James says, we never win when Berry lets his beard grow. He had a better game yesterday. Well, so someone needs to get some razors into that dressing room as soon as possible. Dean says both Merson and Sherwood have backed us for the playoffs. Sherwood says we had fantastic support yesterday. We certainly did. I thought the support was brilliant, actually. Obviously, it was about 3,000 of us in the stand behind the goal. Then they had a few more to the side. And one thing I did think was interesting, actually, yesterday, Joe. So I didn't hear this at half time, but there was a couple of reports from the away end that maybe there was a little bit of booing at half time, only a little bit. But the thing that stood out for me was at full time, there was a lot of noise from that away end, a lot of clapping, a lot of singing. There was a lot of belief still in that group, and that, I think that will be important as well. Like, the chat has consistently been today in the YouTube conversation about just draw a line under it and move on. Let's not let this colour the rest of our season. It was a bad day at the office, but we're still on a very good run, and that was the reaction I got from that crowd at full time as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were booing at half time, then you need to give your head a bit of a wobble, because there's always going to, no one can tell me that they don't have 45 minutes in the office occasionally where they have a bit of a mare and make the odd mistake. So these things are going to happen. But, ultimately, I think we've been on such a crap journey for so long of mid-table mediocrity being what we get to enjoy or suffer through time and time again. And we have had an unbelievable run. If you consider that in the middle, that defeat in the middle of that run between Rotherham and Peterborough was Birmingham, which is basically a bit of a free hit. It's one of those rogue ones in there. If you were to take that out and look at that form, then you'd be waxing lyrically about it time and time again. So and we got beaten, but we didn't play badly. It wasn't as if it was a full-scale capitulation. So I think the fans are absolutely thriving on having something to play for in March and having something to play for even in February, let's be honest. And we've got now sort of 8 more games until we get into playoff fever potentially. And, we have so many good memories for that. So every Charlton fan is going to be absolutely buzzing if we get there, because we're all going to have dreams of last-minute goals if we have to see if we can find a German centre-back as a free agent at the end of May, just to sort of solidify that claim a little bit more. But, you can't quibble. I think we're just absolutely delighted to be enjoying our football again, and long may that continue.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, Alex says there was definitely some booing at halftime. However, the overall mood at halftime was very positive. Ethan was saying Charlton fans were singing 3-0 down. We don't mind. We're Charlton Athletic, and we're going up on the way back to London Bridge. As Paul says, we used to be having therapy sessions on a Sunday morning. Today, it's just a bit more like going back to the wife and just having a little bit of a moan. It's just a one-off. It's been a bad day yesterday, but we've had a lot of good days recently, and I predict we'll have a lot more good days between now and the end of the season than bad ones. That is what we want to see. Right, we've run out of time on this week's Charlton Live. I want to say shout out to Greenie, by the way, who I spoke to at the station yesterday on the way home. I was a bit miserable coming out of the ground yesterday. I was a bit tired. I was like, that was a disappointed day. And I was stood at the station. This fella Greeny came up for a chat and gave me a cream egg, which was very kind of him. So yeah, that was cheered me up no end. I got a cream egg on the way home from a random bloke. But yeah, thanks to Greeny for that. Massive thanks to everyone who's joined us live in YouTube this morning. Hope you have enjoyed the show. The look back at yesterday's defeat. We'll be back on Thursday where we'll be looking ahead to next week's game with Huddersfield. Another big game at the Valley. They are all big games between now and the end of the season because we've got ourselves into a very good position as we look to try and strive towards promotion. So yeah, we will see you again on Thursday. Massive thanks to Sue and Joe. Been a pleasure to share this morning with you guys.
You too. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, well, draw a line under it, move on.
Lovely stuff. I will do so with my cream egg. Right, I'm Louis Mendes. This has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF. He told me how to give it to Imi, but she don't know that. So this has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again on Thursday morning.